This may be one of the most astonishing discoveries ever recorded. In April 1977, in the South Pacific Ocean, about 40 kilometers off the coast of New Zealand, a Japanese fishing vessel was dragging a massive fishing net through the water. However, when the net was hauled aboard, the crew witnessed something truly horrifying: the corpse of a strange and terrifying creature. This bizarre body shocked the world and ignited limitless curiosity about unknown life forms. As the creature was pulled onto the deck, a crane suspended it in midair. Its skin slid away from the skeleton, revealing a corpse with an unusually long neck and thin, elongated limbs. Everything was captured on camera at the time, creating footage that would go on to stun audiences around the globe. When Japanese marine experts examined the photograph, they put forward a bold hypothesis. This might be a plesiosaur, a creature believed to have gone extinct 66 million years ago. Plesiosaurs were known for their sharp teeth and powerful bite, growing up to 12 meters in length, and were considered deadly carnivorous predators. Could it be that Japanese fishermen had pulled up the decomposing remains of a prehistoric predator? However, this mysterious creature was far from the only one of its kind. Legends of unknown aquatic monsters exist all over the world, and none is more famous than the Loch Ness Monster of Scotland, which has become a global legend. The most common descriptions of this legendary creature portray it as having a small head, a long and curved neck, a bulky body, seal-like flippers, and a long tail, overall resembling a prehistoric animal. But before examining modern eyewitness accounts, we must travel much further back in time, to the 6th century, and explore the tale of a saint. In the year 563 AD, the missionary Columba traveled to Scotland. About a century later, a biography documenting his activities mentioned an encounter in 565 AD between Columba and a water monster in Loch Ness. According to the story, Columba came across a group of locals who were cremating the body of a man. The locals claimed the man had been attacked and killed by a water monster while swimming. Some regard this as the first recorded sighting of the Loch Ness Monster, suggesting the legend dates back more than 1,400 years. Fast forward to 1817, when newspapers such as the San Francisco Call and the Coventry Evening Telegraph began publishing reports about sea serpents. Similar stories appeared annually afterward. As geology emerged as a formal scientific discipline in the 19th century, fossils resembling descriptions of sea serpents were discovered, fueling speculation that such creatures might be real. This sparked debate about how long dinosaurs may have survived and whether they could still exist today. In 1822, Loch Ness became part of the Caledonian Canal, opening a direct shipping route between the east and west coasts. This greatly boosted transportation and caused tourism to flourish. As daily steamboat traffic increased, reports of sea serpents and other strange creatures in Loch Ness multiplied. Over time, the creature's image became firmly embedded in Scottish folklore. The Loch Ness Monster gained worldwide attention in the 1930s, coinciding with the Great Depression. During this period of widespread despair, stories of mysterious creatures offered an escape from harsh reality. One newspaper report in particular captured public attention. In 1930, 3 anglers fishing for char in Loch Ness told the Northern Chronicle that they heard terrifying sounds, saw unusual turbulence in the water, and witnessed something twisting its way toward them, rocking their boat with the waves it created. Viewed in isolation, the testimony was unremarkable. However, it was the first account to associate the creature with the word monster. The report stated that a wave half a meter high was caused by an unknown monster inhabiting Loch Ness. 2 other newspapers later reprinted the story, also using the term monster. Throughout the 1930s, reports of the creature surged dramatically. In 1933, journalist Alex Campbell published a sighting in the Inverness Courier describing how well-known local businessman John Mackay and his wife Aldi Mackay saw a creature rolling and leaping in the water. They believed it resembled a whale before disappearing into churning foam. Aldi Mackay described the creature as having 2 humps and an overall length of about 6 meters. Just months later, on August 4, 1933, the Inverness Courier published another report. London resident George Spicer and his wife claimed that in broad daylight they saw a creature resembling a dragon or prehistoric animal crossing the road near Loch Ness. In November 1933, Gray captured what was believed to be the first photograph of the Loch Ness Monster. He claimed an object was visible about 0.6 meters above the water's surface and believed it to be the monster. Although many believed the photo was genuine, it was impossible to clearly identify what it actually showed. Nevertheless, the image intensified debate over whether some unknown creature lurked in the depths of Loch Ness. Soon after, the journal Science began publishing articles discussing the possible existence of the Loch Ness Monster. The first appeared in Nature, citing Gray's photograph as new evidence and mentioning multiple witnesses who had seen eel-like creatures being swept upstream by wakes. The report also noted that a journalist had spent half a day observing Loch Ness in July, but saw nothing at all. It must be said, investigative journalism in the 1930s was fascinating. In early 1934, Nature published another article responding to the supposed evidence, stating that it was almost certain the creature was actually a large gray seal. Yet every time one theory was debunked, a new one emerged, or someone attempted to reignite doubt, keeping the mystery alive. In November 1933, British naval officer and author Rupert Gould traveled to Scotland to investigate the monster. He had previously written The Case for Sea Serpents in 1930. After hearing numerous eyewitness accounts around Loch Ness, he linked them to other monsters he had studied. After months of collecting testimonies, he concluded that something was indeed present in the waters of Loch Ness, though he could not identify what it was. In 1934, he published The Loch Ness Monster and Others, one of the earliest books dedicated entirely to examining the legend. Now let us discuss what was once considered the strongest evidence for the monster's existence, the surgeon's photograph. This image was provided to newspapers by British surgeon Colonel Robert Wilson and published on April 21, 1934. The photograph showed a dark, wide body, a slender neck, and a small head, seemingly straight out of the Jurassic period. From that moment on, the Loch Ness Monster legend firmly took hold in history. In 1934, the Linnean Society of London held a meeting to discuss whether the legend had any factual basis. Many believed the creature was a seal or some other marine mammal, while one scientist insisted it was simply a floating structure. They also argued that without fossil evidence, comparing the creature to any Mesozoic reptile was futile. In 1951, a new photograph emerged, taken by Lachlan Stewart, showing what appeared to be 3 humps. He claimed the creature was moving its head and neck up and down in the water. However, he later admitted the image was a hoax created using 3 submerged bundles of hay. Over the next 2 decades, the Loch Ness Monster legend continued to spread, maintaining public fascination. In 1975, the authenticity of the surgeon's photograph came under serious scrutiny. A man named Ian Wetherill claimed that his father had fabricated the famous image back in 1933. His father, Marmaduke Wetherill, was a journalist and big game hunter hired by the Daily Whale to investigate the monster. He had previously photographed alleged monster footprints, later identified by zoologists as belonging to a stuffed hippopotamus leg. Ian said his father was deeply humiliated by the exposure of the fake footprints. In retaliation, he staged the surgeon's photograph using a toy submarine fitted with a head and neck crafted from wood by Ian and his cousin. The photo was passed through several pranksters before ultimately reaching Colonel Wilson, who submitted it to the media. In 1990, Ian's cousin Chris Sperling confirmed that the entire incident had been an elaborate hoax. Even so, some people still held on to hope that something strange lived in Loch Ness. In 2019, New Zealand geneticist Professor Neil Gemmell led a project to catalog all life in the loch through DNA analysis. The research team collected 250 water samples and extracted 500 million DNA sequences. They found no DNA from plesiosaurs or other Jurassic reptiles, nor from catfish or sturgeon. However, they did find a large amount of eel DNA. Although Gemmell stated that the data could not determine the size of the eels, he suggested that giant eels might exist in Loch Ness. Local residents, however, argued that eels are common in the loch, meaning they could not account for decades of sightings. Others rejected the giant eel theory entirely, noting that witnesses never described the monster as moving side to side like an eel. Additional evidence further undermined the plesiosaur hypothesis, as no relevant fossils have ever been found. Multiple sonar scans of Loch Ness also failed to detect any large aquatic animals. Yet despite this, an average of 10 unidentified creature sightings are still reported each year. I believe that even in an age of rapid scientific discovery and technological advancement, we still want to believe that the world holds mysteries yet to be uncovered. Science has not entirely ruled out the possibility, and that is precisely what makes the mystery so thrilling. Amateur researchers, monster hunters, and ordinary people all hope to be the first to prove the Loch Ness Monster truly exists. Believing in the impossible carries a unique sense of excitement. And so, despite every past sighting being debunked, new reports continue to emerge, and the story of the Loch Ness Monster lives on. That concludes today's video. If you enjoy exploring the mysteries of the world, please consider subscribing. Your support is my greatest motivation to keep creating.